All right, I have started recording this video twice and then stopped recording it because I don't like what I'm saying, or I feel like I'm not making sense, or I feel like I'm crazy. I will not restart this video for the love of God. I'm not going to restart this video. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff in this video, guys. I'm a year sober as of a week ago. I feel like I'm going to drink again soon. I want to talk about what's going on in my head. I want to talk about the chaos between my ears, the way I'm rationalizing things, the way I'm talking to myself between my ears, the good, the bad, the ugly. I want to really give you a chance, for whatever it's worth, to see how I process the strange feeling of wanting to be sober, getting sober, wanting to drink again, and running the loop. I want to also say that this video has the potential to be triggering, and I won't censor myself or modify the way I'm going to share because of that, but I will give you a forewarning that if you are struggling with alcohol, if you're struggling with drugs, if you're struggling with mental health, if staying sober is incredibly important to you, or if you're not feeling very strong in your sobriety, like I'm not right now, I don't know that this is the right thing. I don't want to be that last nudge for you that says, if he goes back out, maybe I will too. But I'm really glad you're here. And I'm thankful that you're a part of this because I need this today. But we're going to talk about broad stroke drinking Noah. So from 13 to 18, drank when I could, got into a little bit of trouble here and there, but I didn't feel like it took on a major role in my life. I enjoyed drinking, but didn't have a lot of access or whatever. Still had a lot of self-esteem, which I'm starting to realize there's a cause and effect there. I felt good about my life trajectory, and I don't feel like I was leaning on alcohol for anything. I just partied when I could. Now, when I graduated high school, got into college, I definitely was faced with something a lot of us are faced with, which is like, who the hell am I? What do I do? I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't really know what to do outside of the high school experience. And so I went to college, declared pre-med because my dad's a doctor. I was never going to do that. That made no sense, but it was just a knee-jerk reaction. Took some classes, passed my classes, whatever, but I partied a lot, and I really enjoyed partying in college. But about a year into that, I gained some weight. I wasn't really doing well with my schooling. I was sort of passing my classes, but dropping them when they got hard. I was just going back and forth with that, and I was starting to experience some depression. And I'd never experienced depression prior to that. Didn't have the language to understand what I was feeling, but leaving high school, leaving the nest, made me, I felt down. My parents are in recovery, and so I remember the first time I tried to get sober, I just associated not drinking and getting sober with something that I could be proud of. I knew my parents would be proud of me. I knew other people would be supportive. I kind of felt like it was this badge of honor to do it, and I was looking for, I needed something to tether me to feeling good. And so I got sober when I was, I think I was 19. I got sober when I was 19 years old, and I stayed sober for a long time after that. I stayed sober for a long time till I was like in my 21. I think I was right around 21. I must have relapsed 3 weeks after 21. And in that time, I did okay when I was sober. I still kind of struggled with some depression. I didn't really know exactly what I was doing, where I was going, but I enjoyed the positive affirmations I got from people and the reassurance that I was doing the right things. But eventually I got bored of being sober. I got bored of being sober, which is a trend in my life. I didn't work a recovery program at that time in any meaningful way. And I abused Adderall here and there, so it was questionable sobriety at best. But at 21, I decided I wanted to try drinking again, and what do you know? I thought it was a blast. I had a lot of fun, I partied a lot, and I drank a lot. And eventually the same things happened then, which tend to always happen, which is, all right, I'm drinking and I'm partying, and yes, I like doing this, but I'm not doing anything with my life. I'm insecure. I don't have poor self-esteem, period. I don't know what to do, I'm not good enough, and I'm comparing myself to everyone. So I'm like, crap, I better get sober again. I still had that reaction, and I did. I got sober again, and for 9 months I was sober. I met my now wife, Jessie, then girlfriend, and get sober, feel better about yourself. Parents, I'm in their good graces, and friends, and everyone's supportive again. Okay, Noah's getting sober again, cool. And then once again, I get bored of sobriety. I don't feel as good as I thought I was going to feel. I kind of come into that whole, well, is this really it? Is this life? Like okay, it's no longer, the novelty of being sober wears off, and I start drinking again. Fast forward to when I was 25 years old, still don't really know what I'm doing. I've dropped out of college a couple times. I'm working for my dad. I'm not particularly healthy. I'm just fumbling and bumbling along, and the longer I went without purpose, without direction, without the skills and the behaviors that I've acquired now, for example, to really play towards my depressive, anxious tendency, I kind of just rinsed and repeated my life, and there's plenty of good times that came in there, but there are lots of like bad times too. Lots of bad times too. Just not feeling very good. Not feeling very good about myself. So at 25, I checked myself into rehab. I've made videos about that. And in rehab, I set the intention to get sober forever. Sober forever this time, because I still always associate get sober and everything's going to be okay. There's structure, there's game plan for me or whatever. And so I did that, came out, relapsed again. My parents suggested I take something called Vivitrol, which is active ingredient for that is naltrexone. It's just something you give people to curb cravings and create a ceiling effect on the effect of alcohol. So they gave me a big injection that was supposed to make it easy for me to get sober. I had a paradoxical reaction to it, thus the genesis of this channel. Got really sick when I was 25, really sick. Lost 25 pounds, panic attacks, black tar depression, suicidality. Almost lost my life, very seriously, very genuinely almost lost my life. And a year into that, I started this YouTube channel. Treatment-resistant depression, could barely function. I was an absolute shell of myself. Horrifies me to this day. Horrifies me to this day. And in that time, other than one attempt to see if alcohol would work, which it didn't, I didn't drink. And two and a half, 3 years later, I drank again. And it felt great. And my mental health overall was slowly improving over the years. And I found drinking again, and same thing happened. Same thing happened. I just, when I drink, I associate it with bad. I do it too much. I feel low about myself. I feel like people are judging me and watching me. And I certainly don't put enough time into self-care and all the things that are long-lasting, that organically will inspire healthy life. And I just, as this channel has documented, I get sober, I get bored of being sober, I drink, I start drinking too much, I get sober. And that's an oversimplification, but it is essentially, if I had to really plainly, broad spectrum, stroke a brush over my drinking, that's what happens. And I've been sober for a year now, again. And in this last year, I've benefited greatly from that sobriety. I've gone to 12-step meetings every week, a ton in the beginning, one every day for the first few months, I'd say almost 6 months, and then about 3 or 4 meetings a week ever since. I have a sponsor, I have a drug and alcohol counselor. I live easily the healthiest life I've ever lived. I made a lot of progress. I've changed a lot. I'm unrecognizable to myself, really, from a few years ago, and then every year, I've been slowly evolving. But what hasn't seemed to change is the same feeling, even though I feel like I'm leveling up every time with every year on this earth, and the things I experience, and I certainly am grateful for the transformations I've made. But anyway, every time I'm sober about this long, about a year, I start getting bored with sobriety, genuinely bored with sobriety. This is the part, especially now as I'm older, where I'm more aware of it, and I'm more critical of the whole thing. Like, I see it happening again. I feel it. 2 weeks ago, leading up to my 1 year, I just freaked. I freaked out. I went from craving alcohol one time in a year to being certain I would drink again. I still feel certain right now that I'm going to drink again. And now I'm trying to make preparations. How do I do it safely? Because it feels like it's already happened. That's how real it feels to me, like that. But I'm more critical of this whole thing. So I'm like, oh my God, it's happening again. I am bored and suffocated by my sobriety. I am tired of this routine I have, even though it's the healthiest routine I've ever had. There's like a little monster in me that just, he wants some chaos back in his life. Like, I'm bored. I'm bored of getting up on time. I'm bored of doing my gratitude journal. This is rebellion in me, right? This angry little kid. Like, I'm bored of meditating and praying every day. I'm bored of doing my stretches and my mobility and reading my book and doing my work and just being inherently responsible. Not that I couldn't be more responsible, but I'm very responsible now. And I go to the gym and I do my exercises and I eat really clean most of the time, and I go to bed and say my prayers and I brush my teeth. Like, I literally have a wonderful formula for long-term success, and it's proving very useful. I'm so grateful for these skills, but I'm fucking bored of it right now. I want to go ahead and step into a different reality again. I feel it. Like, I'm just like, oh, it's happening. And then when I get that feeling like I had 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, because I just celebrated, I survived 1 year of sobriety. That's how it felt on the day. There was no celebration in my mind. I was so stressed. But like 3 weeks ago, which was again 2 weeks prior to the 1 year, it just switched. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be sober forever. I can't imagine being sober forever. I started missing alcohol. I started romancing the times that I drank that were so much fun. The ones that didn't go bad. But of course I have to be careful, obviously. And I've learned a lot this last year. Not just about my history with drinking and getting sober, but I've learned a lot about how to talk to myself, how to treat myself, how my brain works, what I'm worthy of. I've done a lot of good work this year, and so I have to lean on the things that have happened this last year to carry me through this, but I also, certain rituals and habits are deep-rooted. I barely understand them when they're happening. All I know is I genuinely was at peace with never drinking. I mean, 1 day at a time, of course, is what they tell you in 12-step, but most of us deep down, like, we have this idea, like, yeah, they say 1 day at a time, but you're there trying to never drink again. You're there trying to stay sober. Well, that's always how I looked at it, but now I'm like, I don't know. I'm just trying to not drink today. But when I felt that shift in my brain, I kind of just got super depressed and started binge eating and just felt terrible for a couple of weeks. I started oversharing. People were like, how are you? I'm like, oh, I'm worried I'm going to drink again. And then I put one too many people on high alert. My mom kind of started acting a little wonky. My dad started acting a little wonky. Some friends started acting a little wonky. When I say wonky, I just mean like they really took on my situation too personally, and then started over checking on me and stressing me out, and it meant well, but I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. It made me feel 10 times more pressure to not fail, to not screw this up. Noah, don't screw this up. I told my wife, and I started like pushing away from her for a couple of weeks. I was like, she's gonna leave me. I'm gonna drink again, and she's just gonna go. And she felt me pushing away from her. My mom felt me pushing away from her. Some friends did too, because like in my head, there was just like this mopey sadness where I'm just like, oh my God. Like, is this really going to happen again? So binge eating aside, I've continued to see my sponsor. I've continued to see my drug and alcohol counselor, and we've been looking at my history of self-sabotage and all this stuff. And so far, none of it really, it's falling on mostly deaf ears. So far, in my mind, I'm kind of making preparations to try to drink again, try to do it successfully. And now my job is just to pause as long as possible and pray for the willingness to be willing to have that frame of mind change. Start worrying about what would happen to this YouTube channel if I drank again. Would I just sabotage my business? Would I sabotage my fitness? Would I sabotage my marriage? Of course, the way my brain works, well, what if I could pull it off? I'm so much more mature now than I've ever been and more responsible than I've ever been. I've never been this disciplined before. Could I apply that discipline to not over drinking? It's the great fantasy I've always had, because in my mind, of course, in my mind, if I could have it all, I want to have it all. I do miss drinking. I just don't miss over drinking. And I know just as I say that there are people literally doing this, just shaking their head at me, much like I would shake my head at me 2-3 weeks ago. But that's how fast my mind changes. And there's no doubt that it's possible that tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'll be grooving again with my sobriety. But as of right now, I'm not. And I'm rationalizing it, and I'm trying to make sense of it, and I'm trying to figure out ways to pull this off, because I love drinking, even though it's been accompanied by a lot of misery. I still love it. I'm bored, again, of my sobriety. As good as my life is, I'm bored. I want to check out. And I'm starting to feel jealous of the people that are. And it's funny, is I know a lot of them feel jealous of the way I am and the life I live, and the grass is always greener. I'm so very human, it hurts. I had every intention of like getting a year sober and just being so excited and celebrating and sharing, and it's like, ugh. Life had other plans. A few days before I got my 1 year, I bought beer for the first time. I went and bought beer. It felt good to buy beer. I bought it, had it, kept it in my car for 2 days, and the day before I celebrated 1 year of sobriety, I cracked that beer open. And I looked at the beer between my legs, just set it down between my legs on a bench, and I stared at it for like 30 minutes. I didn't end up drinking it, but it's like, damn, it feels close. It feels close. So I'm resisting 12-step right now. I kind of feel like I don't want to go there. I'm trying to think, well, I still want to have God in my life. So if I drink again, should I start going to church because I like having a relationship with God? My wife's been really cool with me. She's just been treating me very nicely and not judging me for feeling this way. I've been pretty nice to me, even though I feel scared and I feel overwhelmed and I feel down. But I'm still doing my positive affirmations every day, and I don't know. I don't want to be as open and honest with people right now, so I hope a lot of my friends and family don't watch this because I don't want them checking on me and I don't want to explain myself to anybody. But this YouTube thing is strange that way. Like, I'm not going to lie to you guys. This is the way this channel is set up. You guys know a lot more about me than most people in my life. That's it, and I don't know what I'm going to do. There's major consequences if it all goes wrong, and it's 100% past history that it will go wrong, which makes me feel 100% insane considering drinking again. Which is why this is all very weird. I know I'm not going to drink for today. I'm positive about that. And I have to keep it that small. I know that I'm going to be open and honest with my wife. If I decide to drink again, I'm not going to drink behind her back. And I know this is probably upsetting to some of you guys, and I feel bad for that. And every video I've made this last year, everything I've said about the gifts of sobriety and feeling so happy to be sober, I meant every word I said when I said it. I did. It's just not how I feel today. I mean, I do still agree with a lot of that stuff, but this is how I feel today. And now I'm rambling at a very aggressive clip. So I'm going to go ahead and call it. Thank you for letting me share. Thank you for letting me share. I'm in a weird space again. For the umpteenth time. But I will be honest with you guys, no matter what. I know I have a adult responsibility I do care about. It's not that I don't want all the good things in my life. I just want to have it all, like every person who struggles with alcohol. I just want to have it all. I don't want to be mentally or bodily different than my fellow man. I want to work hard at my business. I want to be a good husband. I want to have my fitness. I want to have my spiritual growth. I want to have my life and some. According to 12-step literature, it's the great obsession of all alcoholics. And I have that just like every one of the people in that book too, I guess. It's powerful that way. Because it's not pretty. It doesn't sound pretty to say. It doesn't sound admirable to say. It sounds crazy, and I feel like it's going to invite a lot of warranted judgment. I've even been looking up stories of people who went back to drinking successfully. Because I'm just trying to rationalize this whole thing. I'm trying to give myself permission. I'm trying to not hate myself for what I might do. But I'm sober today. And that's all I got.